Hey, let's talk for a moment about how we talk. We all know how words are powerful. We've seen a word that somebody said or tweeted ruin their career. Words spoken to us at a young age can help us or haunt us. And it's said that one word can change a person's entire day. In fact, Paul, in one of the most famous parts of the Bible having to do with our words, says this: "Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen." You see, Paul gives us this framework as for how we should talk, asking questions like, is this wholesome? Is this helpful? Does what I say build others up according to what they need? Does it benefit? Actually, this word has to do with give grace. Does it give grace to those who listen? Essentially, Paul is reminding all of us to use our words for good, not for harm. But here's the thing, when we talk about words, we tend to focus a lot on the what, and we get lost in the weed of things. Questions like, am I allowed to cuss, or what's the right thing to say? Not that those are bad questions to wrestle with, but Paul doesn't want us to miss out on something. He addresses the complexity of our words. He says that there's an audience who's listening, and sometimes that audience changes. What one person needs to hear may be different from what somebody else needs to hear. What may be helpful for one might not be helpful for the other. So we get this sense that our words are to become custom crafted for the occasion. So when it comes to our words, it's not just what we say, meaning the content, even though that is important, but it's when and how we say it. Now, we tend to focus the majority of our energy on what to say, but oftentimes the when and the how become afterthoughts. But a wise person understands that these things all work together. In fact, there's a key proverb that speaks to this. Like apples of gold and settings of silver is a word spoken at the proper time. You see, exquisite jewelry is described here. And likewise, there's a high value placed on beautifully framed speech. Words that are spoken at the right time. Now listen up for a moment. Some of us pride ourselves on telling it like it is, being truthful. Now that's not always being wise. In fact, sometimes it's something else, a word I'm not going to use for this audience right now. Wisdom isn't just saying what needs to be said, but it's saying what needs to be said at the right time and in the right way. In fact, let me say this again, this is important. Wisdom isn't just saying what needs to be said, but it's saying what needs to be said at the right time and in the right way. So when it comes to wise words, there are two factors that would be wise to consider: timing and technique. Let's talk about timing for a moment. The best comedians know that it's all about timing. Something is funny only when it's timed well, because you can botch a joke by messing up the timing of the punchline. I'm guilty of bad timing at home. Sometimes I don't get a lot of face-to-face interaction at work, and I'm an extrovert, and I want to come home and talk through every detail of my day. But my wife, who's been around people all day long, students wanting her attention, for me to unload everything right away is overwhelming, not good timing. You see, there's things that shouldn't be said at a funeral, for instance. Like, let me give a few examples. Never say at a funeral, "better him than me." And never say to somebody at the funeral, "did he pay you to come too?" And definitely don't say, "see kids, this is what God does to the bad ones." Now we laugh because we know this, but the reality is we lack self-awareness when it comes to timing. Actually, it's kind of this others awareness. So we have to be intentional at observing the demeanor and the circumstances of the other person. We have to ask, is this really the best time to say this? Somebody is stressed or dealing with anxiety or depression, please don't say to them, "cheer up. The Bible says not to worry. It says to rejoice in the Lord always." That's not good timing. Somebody going through a divorce, somebody dealing with the death of a loved one, watch your timing. And as a rule of thumb, anything that can be interpreted negatively should never, let me stress, never be written or typed. You see, wise people know that timing is key. And sometimes the best time to say something is never. Now, along with timing, the second factor to consider when it comes to our use of words is technique. How we speak the words we say matters. Now, we understand this, so I'll be brief here. There are a lot of scriptures that talk about being gentle when we speak to others. One in particular tells us, always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. And then catch what it says next. But do this with gentleness and respect. Respond with gentleness, but also respond respectfully. Has someone ever spoken to you and what they said was true, but how they said it was condescending? Don't talk down to people. Watch your tone. So often we don't even know we come across that way. So regularly ask others, how did that come across when I said that? You see, to have well-crafted words, wise people take into consideration timing and technique, because our words have the power to build others up, to encourage those who are discouraged, to dispense grace to those who feel judged. And what we say to others is often the track that gets played over and over again in their heads. And oftentimes, it's not the words themselves that we speak, but how and when it's spoken. Now I want to close with this reminder from Proverbs. The words of the reckless pierce like swords. Reckless people are just like reckless drivers, are careless. They're not paying attention to others. You see, the words of the reckless pierce like swords, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Now may you be among the wise by when and how you use your words.